All right, time to get this started, people.
LA mating call, ladies.
Starting it off right. All right, Smutters. Welcome to the Sibs Smut podcast. I'm Ned,
And I'm Helen.
This is a podcast where we read, rate, review, and tell jokes about our, sometimes your, favorite dirty romance novels. If you have any suggestions, we're up on those soch. At Sibs Read Smut, Instagram, TikTok, various what have yous. SibsReadSmut at gmail.com for any comments or suggestions. Only nice shit, please.
Yeah.
No meanies.
No dick pics.
Yeah, or clam bakes. On today's podcast, we will be discussing Broken French by Tasha Boyd. The first time reading for me. Helen, I think you've read this one already.
Parlez-vous français? Oui, oui.
Not in my cab, you don't. Spoiler alert, we will be talking about these books in total. Beginnings, endings, twists are all fair game. So if you haven't read this book, hit pause, go listen. We're not going to wait. Helen, why don't you give us a brief summary of this book?
Here's the summary, authored by not me. All right.
Who could it be?
It could be anybody. It could be mom. It could be dad. Who knows? Written as a love letter to southern France. Broken French's main character is Josephine, a woman who recently stopped taking shit from her boss and quit while deciding to take a nanny job and to help a friend and find herself. Oh, and just find herself, along with possibly some European dick. She meets a single dad, a hot prince, and a grumpy dickbag, all mixed into Xavier. Let's say it the American way. What he lacks for in manners, his daughter Dauphine makes up for in cuteness. Is their attraction mutual? Does she need to leave? Does he need to buy an industrial lock for his pant zipper? Spoilers. They bone. An industrial lock.
Oh man, that's good. That's a pretty good description. If I do say so myself.
It's missing a couple key parts, like they're on a mega yacht, like a Beyonce-sized mega yacht. That's where she's being a nanny. That's the entire book. I mean, I feel like the boat is the book.
Well, the boat, the food porn, and the general scenery. I mean, she jizzes about the scenery more than she does about anything else. I mean, the food, the noises that these people made while listening to the book, while eating food, were grosser than the actual sex scenes. I was like, oh my God, so much moaning and juiciness. I'm like, yuck. But yes, I did miss a couple key points in my brief summary.
The boat. I feel like the boat is the most important piece.
Yeah,
because that's what the coolest part of the whole book, honestly.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a mega yacht. Like they don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could you imagine how cool that would be? It's like below deck, but like they're on this like huge boat, and you're the guest. And the people are just catering to you, and they're bringing you like crispy baguettes with soft cheese. Oh my God. Yum.
Oh man. Well, so I was mentioning before we started the countdown into the pod that this is our second nanny book. Nanny falls in love. The tropes.
The fucked up dad that falls in love with a nanny. I think both nanny books we've read, the dads are like super fucked up and both lost their wives. Yeah. Hence the need for a nanny.
To suicide. Both committed suicide.
True.
He's not even sure. He's pretty sure she committed suicide, but it was in this book, his wife died of an overdose of drugs. Yeah. It may or may not have been self-inflicted and intentional. We don't know, but the book starts with Josie not being a nanny. She's an architect.
She's an architect at a very prestigious firm in Charleston, and she is big on maintaining the historical aspects of Charleston. That's her big thing, is like she likes to do architecture, but only restoring old buildings. So she's really into the history. And she goes in for like her annual review expecting a promotion, and this like douchebag named Ravenel or some like super southern asshole name is basically like hits on her, is like, look, listen, you're hot, but we're giving the job to my nephew. So, and she's like, well, fuck you, and she quits. And like that night her roommate is looking for a nanny she runs a nanny matching service, and so that's how this job like falls into her hands.
Yeah, well, and she has the hard ass mic drop exit line of "fuck you very much" to her boss. Like that's her big like like, you know, he's trying to grope her on the couch and whatever else, and she's like, you know what, I quit. And and then on the way out she's like, "fuck you very much," and I was like, "you go, girl."
Yeah, that had to feel good.
Yeah. Well, and I was like, the women need to wear skirts at this architectural firm.
Yeah,
fuck
like
the patriarchy.
Truly, seriously.
And
that's
Mr. Tate, the boss, is just a taint bag, you know, just a full on taint. And she takes this job to help her friend out, which is not,
like take a vacation. I mean, the job is on literally a yacht in the south of France. So like her friend is basically like, I'm desperate to fill this summer role, to take care of this kid for the summer on a yacht in southern France. Go do this. While you're there, you can apply for other jobs and like get back into architecture. But in the meantime, while you're doing that, can you help a sister out? And she does. So she flies over to France to live on a fucking mega yacht with a slide into the ocean. Oh my God, there's like 3 floors. Oh, this boat. I'm not a boat gal. The boat. The boat. I love the boat. I want a boat. I don't want a boat. I want a friend with a boat. I want to be friends with Josie and Mr. Pascal. Don't want to own this. It sounds expensive, but I do want to ride on it.
His dick.
Just the boat. I'm good on his D. His smooth, silky,
his froggy D.
That's offensive.
Yeah, it is, and I don't care. And so we quickly find out too that his manservant bodyguard Evan is, they have a fun relationship. You know, it reminded me of Mr. Masters, his buddies, you know, like whatever. Even though this guy works for him, he is very snarky with him. He kind of calls him on a lot of his stuff.
Well, they were friends first, and then
were they?
He hired him. Yeah. They were like friends growing up or something.
I don't remember that. I know he's.
You're fighting me.
I know he white knights a whole bunch of people. So I thought he was just another person that he helped out. I didn't remember his backstory. And then she accidentally peep shows him on the Zoom call
before she goes to France.
Yeah,
she's accidentally in the background of her roommate's Zoom call with him, and she's like taking off her bra and like flinging it across the. She just quit, and so she's coming home and like, I don't know, just about to like,
she's stripping out of her, you know,
work stuff.
So
he sees that, but she doesn't know that there's even a Zoom on the computer. And then by the time like she's past the computer, the roommate comes back and hangs up. So she never knows that this man saw her stripping in the living room.
Well,
but it did tickle his fancy. Yeah,
he did feel some rumblies downstairs that he hadn't felt in a while, because his wife's dead a couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
And two things before she even leaves for the boat that I loved were Tabitha, her other friend, mails bags of gummy dicks to people that she doesn't like. Meredith, I thought Meredith was the...
Tabitha owns the nanny company, and Meredith is their like wild friend who sleeps around and does crazy stuff. Doesn't matter who it was.
Yeah,
one of her friends mails bags of dicks, candy dicks, to people, and has this whole... Yeah.
And there's a callback at the end where once the things go wrong and she leaves the dude, she's like, "Should we mail him a bag of dicks?" And I was like,
she considers it, but then she's like, no, there's a kid. I don't want Dauphine to find the bag of dicks.
It was the perfect callback, though. It was a kind of throwaway scene at the beginning, and then brought it right back at the end in a great way. This book was long. Like 17, 18 hours listening, and I don't know how many pages it ended up being.
A lot.
Yeah. I think it could have been shorter.
Yeah. Like by a lot.
Well, you're the one over here like oh, the boats.
Oh, I love the boat. Okay, so I was I guess I could talk about this more at the end. I am sad that I reread this book because I remember loving this book. Like peak COVID, nobody's traveling anywhere. You're just that's what she wrote it. I think it came out in 2021, so she wrote it you were saying, as a love letter to southern France and to traveling in Europe and all of these things that she missed during COVID. And so I read it soon after, loved it, and just have these really fond memories of the book and southern France. And I remember this as medium spicy, medium plus. I was like, ooh. But again, I think I read it so early in my real deep romance, okay, I'm going off the deep end now, so I think I thought this was spicier than it was. And reading it back, some of these things just annoyed the shit out of me. I didn't need so much just description. I was like, all right, let's get to the meat of things. Food porn, boat porn. I mean, I want a friend with a boat, but I know what a boat looks like. There was
not a whole lot of plot. I mean, other than them being on the boat and seeing beautiful places and whatever else, there was very little that moved the story forward. And spoilies, there's a kidnapping that literally lasts a chapter and a half. That is nothing. That's nothing other than he blames her, she gets mad at him, and then decides to leave.
There is a lot of story there.
No.
The backstory.
There's it's
the dead wife's brother.
All the action happens off screen. Nothing happens. Nothing happens.
Read too many action novels.
Well, it's not like things we never got over, where literally they chase them down. They get in there and the action scene is them getting her back. In this, everything is them just worry-wording at home and or yelling at each other. I thought it did very little for the story in general. And I mean, but that's towards the end of the book. I mean, almost the end of the book.
Well, and to make that whole thing, to make the kidnapping fit, so the girl she's nannying for, Dauphine, is Xavier Pascal's daughter. She's 10, I think. She's been having a really hard time since her mom died. She gets bullied at school. She doesn't have a lot of friends. Her best friend is her grandma, so Xavier's mom. And so by the time Josie gets to the boat, they become friends really fast. Josie falls in love I didn't know I could fall in love so quickly with a kid. And we've talked about this before.
Not pedophilically.
Oh, thank you. But kids in romance novels is a big turnoff for some romance readers. It's a thing. You have to know that there's a kid in this novel because it really, Dauphine is the plot. She drives the plot in so many ways because I know that Josie doesn't like him at first. He's so grumpy, so she's only staying because of the kid at first, and so she doesn't really get to know him very well until
she quits on the first day.
He's an absolute asshole to her because he's so attracted to her. Okay, thanks. Which because it's dual point of view, which is important. But they she just I feel like the daughter drives everything forward because she likes the daughter so much that she's like, this is really fun. Actually, it's fun hanging out with you. I know you've got a lot going on. I want to talk about your mom. And then as they get closer, she has time to get closer to Xavier. And so without the daughter, I guess they wouldn't need a nanny, so the whole premise would be off anyway. But I just feel like Dauphine was the main one driving the plot forward, and then Dauphine, the daughter, gets kidnapped. So Xavier is mega rich. He's a billionaire, yada yada, heir to some money. I don't know.
He's a prince.
He is? I didn't know he was a prince. But so
they're from some royal line.
They're from
sure.
the royal line. And so he's really well known in France. Like the tabloids follow him. He's always, his picture's always being taken. They take all these security precautions because of his status. He has like enemies. And so he at some point there's a few different like enemy people that you meet. His dad is kind of a dick. We don't like the dad.
Well, his dad's a womanizing cheater, slept with
all
of his
the
nannies.
So that like he's like, shit, I don't want to be like my dad. And then the dad's like business partner, there's like a really sketchy business partner that like tries to assault Josie as well.
They're not business partners. We find that guy invited himself to the meeting. He's trying to get his hands on Xavier's tech. There's this new tech that he's developing that he wants Josie to spy for him. He wants, there is a mini undercurrent of menace in this book.
I told you.
But
there is a backstory.
It's so slight. No, but
it's very slight. I mean, and it comes up like they're at a beach club. This scene in the bathroom happens where he's trying to get Josie to like, help him, and then she says no, and he's like, "Fine, you bitch!" Like, he like cusses her out.
So then he kidnaps the girl. Like what? What are you even talking
about?
The
book later, I thought he was I thought she was kidnapped by the brother of the dead mom.
The brother-in-law helps in the kidnapping.
Yeah,
but
it's that guy from the bathroom.
It's the guy instigating
from the beach club.
Yeah,
okay.
From the beach club.
So later in the story. But that's what drives the story forward is then the daughter gets kidnapped and
but that all happens off screen. None of that is shown, or we don't know anything about that. Everything's from Josie's perspective. There's no chasing down of the girl. There's nothing other than
your
his reaction.
Your testosterone is showing. There is like the fact that you want the like chase scene and the actual kidnapping.
Other books have done this well. This is not done well.
No, it's just not graphic. Like, I don't think this woman. So Tasha Boyd is the romance. So the author is Tasha Boyd, and that's the name that she writes romance novels under. I think she has a couple. She's a couple series of romance novels, but she's Natasha Boyd when she writes her historical fiction. So she is a historical fiction author who is like dipping her toe in the romance world. She's not
dipping her toe in that pond.
Dipping her toe in that pond. She's not like number 2 already. Oh, la-ti-da. And so she's not an action writer. She's not like, I don't know.
I'm not saying that it needs to be knockdown, drag out action like things we never got over. But we could have seen it from Xavier's perspective, where he actually went to the police station, picked her up, and was part of the process of getting her back. We saw it all from Josie's perspective. This book is dual perspective. We could have seen some of those scenes from his perspective of how worried he was going down and getting her.
He had a panic attack on the boat.
He also screamed at her and blamed her for all this stuff. So we saw everything from Josie's point of view, which was the boring point of view. The point of view of Xavier, of going and getting the girl, picking her up at the police station, bringing her home, is the more interesting point of view to me, and that was not the one that was not shown.
I see your point. And I just think the author was focused on the love story. And so the love story was breaking down. I hear you loud and clear. But I think the love story of Xavier and Josie, they were like out on their yacht in the middle of nowhere just having a fuck fest while the daughter is at the grandma's house for like 2 nights only. They're
pretty tame. Pretty tame, though.
Yes. And we'll come back to, because I need to know what you named all the sex scenes. But so they are out here having their fuck fest, and then they get the call like, oh, Delphine has been thank you for the visual. Delphine has been kidnapped.
Abducted.
Abducted, like get back to shore ASAP. So, and then that's when he starts breaking down. He has his panic attack, and then he like comes to, and he's like, are you the bad guy? Like, anytime I let people into my life, like something bad happens. And so he blames her, yada yada. But again,
but he also finds the business card of the bad dude guy in her bag.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's like,
it doesn't help.
His feelings are a little warranted. It's like, you found this dude's card. Dauphine even said that she was talking to him at the beach club.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's known that she's had dealings with the guy and that he has her business card, and she was not truthful about what the guy said at the beach club. So it all comes out as, you're a liar, liar, McLiar pants. And it's like, he's not wrong. I mean, it is his vehemence and his anger is a little unjustified, but,
But it's where the love story breaks down. So they're like falling in love on this fuckfest.
The low point.
It's the low point. And then she gets kidnapped. The love story falls apart, and then they don't recover from it till the very end. So they get the daughter back from the kidnapping, and
we're talking about this book the exact way you love to talk about books, all out of order and it's skipping around, beginning, end, back to the beginning again. This is crazy to me.
What else is there to talk about with this book? I mean, they're on the ocean, they're eating food, and then they go to like a nightclub in the middle. She's friends with the staff, and then the kidnapping, and then they get her back, and then she goes back to Charleston, where she's from, and then he moves to Charleston and proposes to her. The end. To
get his new mega yacht.
Under the guise of that, but he was really there to find her and marry her.
Well, a couple quick notes. Food porn-esque is one of my notes.
Yep.
Lots of flooding with saliva. Her mouth floods with saliva a lot
when she eats,
all these smells or looking at him or whatever else. They have a chat up on the deck where it becomes weirdly, and the banter, mediocre.
Not great.
It wasn't great. But he's like, she was talking about, they were talking about his childhood, and she's like, "Were you a good boy?" And he was like, "No, I was a bad boy."
Stop it with the good boy. I cannot stand it when you. Was he a good boy? Was he a good boy?
Good boy.
It's like nails on a chalkboard.
And then I just went, yuck. and then he gets pissy, and then he gets pissy with her.
He's
anytime he gets vulnerable, he immediately attacks, and it's like, okay, calm down. And then
he's broken French.
The baboon ass presenting during the yoga, where he like comes around the corner and and him and Dauphine and Josie are doing yoga, and he's like, and the scene in of itself was like, okay, but then him recounting to Evan in the next scene of like, "I'll come around the corner and she's just presenting her ass to me," and I'm
her
like,
cool,
yeah.
her cool.
And I'm like, oh my god.
That was fun.
And the beaches, and her describing that first swimming scene was like relaxing even to me.
Yeah.
Like, the scenery, the slide, her and Dauphine, the water. I mean, she can paint
a beautiful
the scenery
picture
very, very well. I mean, it was everything was detailed, and when they went up to the nunnery and had the big lookout and whatever else, I'm like, that description was wonderful. She just did it too much in my mind. Like, it didn't. I mean, every single time they went to a new place, there was a full description that really put you there.
Yeah.
But also, it's like, okay, I don't need every ingredient in every dish that you eat and everything else. Even though it was tantalizing, but I'm also like, it was a time waster for me. Get to the meat. Get to the meat of the story.
Kidnapping and explain it in detail.
Or the sex scenes.
Yes, true.
They're eye banging each other on the beach. Like, can I put the sunscreen on your back? Like all this kind of stuff.
That was gross. And but the daughter's there the whole time, and she's just like looking at them like.
The tag water humping, where they're like playing tag in the ocean, and they're just like humping on each other, and Dauphine's like, "You're it," and it's like,
cool. A little close for comfort there, kid.
Yeah, and then there's weird moments of like confusion between them, where Dauphine's having a bad dream, and he like touches her shirt, and she's like so erotic about it. I'm like, oh, what does this mean?
She goes in to comfort Dauphine and Dauphine says, "Please stay." So then they both lay down in the bed, and then he starts like touching her weirdly over Dauphine after she falls asleep.
He grabs her shirt and like gives a little squeezeroo or something, and I'm like, that's weird.
thought he was like stroking her arm skin.
And there's also a fair amount of sniffing in this book too. I now that I've called it out on one of the earlier podcasts, I'm seeing it everywhere. Where they're
sniffing.
Yeah, where she's just like huffing him.
Oh, she smells him.
Yeah, his scent. Like,
yeah, that's common.
I'm seeing it more and more and more, and it's like, I mean, one or two sniffs is like okay, but I don't need her to constantly be talking about this dude's scent. Like, come on, you're not a werewolf.
Ned, do you have a signature scent?
Yeah, my deodorant that I wear.
No, when you go on dates, do you wear a man perfume?
No.
You got to get a man perfume. The scent is important. I think it's so nice when a man smells nice. It's very memorable.
Sandalwood and gunpowder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and leather.
Yeah.
But
rich
not
mahogany.
The weird kind. Yeah, not the weird BDSM kind.
Okay.
But like good leather. That one, and so like at some point the boat thrusts them together, and it's like she's sniffing him, and I'm like, okay.
Oh, and Paco, like the captain did that maybe on purpose. Yeah, you don't know.
So it's like, and so they decide once she meets his mom and Dauphine grandma, that they decide to have this like illicit 2-day affair.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we're going to leave the kid with the grandma, and we're going to go bang it out for 2 days, and then we're done. We're not going to,
Yeah, this is inappropriate. We can't be together after this. Yeah. And
so like he sees her in the club in her nice going out dress, and he's like dry humps her up against the wall. Like they haven't even kissed yet. It's almost 50% in, and they haven't even kissed yet. And he dry humps her up against the wall and like to completion, and on her side. And it's like the dark and broody second floor lording over her. I'm like, okay, that was a little weird. Like she keeps talking about like he's stalking her like a predator, and he's scaring her, and it's like, but she's still super horny for him.
Yeah, but she's still like, really feels it in her groin.
She's actually scared, but she's scared of the way he makes her feel, and it's like,
well, he's scared of the way she makes him feel, so they're scared of each other.
Yeah, and this is another one where it's like, talk about your shit. Like, come on. Yeah. It was not as clearly defined as one conversation could solve the entire thing, but it was like, you motherfuckers need to be a little bit more honest with each other about your shit. And so 48% through, dubstep ding dong, or Saturday Night Fucker are the chapter names.
Okay.
And they're dry humping before they even kiss, and then surprise orgasm. And then she gets super whiny post orgasm. She's like, "But what does this mean?" And what blah blah. And it's like they haven't had that conversation yet, but she knows, even from Meredith or Tabitha or whatever else, don't fuck the hot daddy. Mm-hmm. Like it's
the
literally
the
one rule of nannying. Mm-hmm.
But this whole genre of books wouldn't exist if these nannies didn't want to sit on that dick.
Yeah, well, and my favorite line coming out of that scene was. He's all blue-balled after, she gets off, and then they're like, oh, my God, what did we just do? We're in public. And he's like, he's longer and harder than a circus tent pole, is what he said. Or maybe I came up with that. I don't remember. But somebody said something about circus tent poles, and I was like, that was funny, even if I said it. I was like, that's a new one, so it must not have been me. It was probably Tasha. Good one, Tosh.
Tosh.
Yeah, when he's like keeps on talking about self-control and how stuff's happening around him, and he's like, I'm like, he feels like shit about a lot of stuff that's not in his control, and I'm like, dude, come on, you're not the center of the fucking universe. You don't.
He is though. In France, he is. He's in all the tabs.
Because that's the
end all
be
Paps
all.
Are following him. He's a royal.
The Paps. Yuck. That's terrible.
He's a billionaire with lots of yachts.
Yeah. Well, no, I finally just said their twat waffling is tiresome. They're waffling back and forth about their feelings and like, oh, we shouldn't do this. Oh, we can is like, okay.
It's forbidden love. That's the whole point of romance novels.
Yeah, that trope.
Not on your favorites list.
not on the faves. Well, and she's there's a couple of tropes. Speaking of tropes, there's a couple in this book. So it's the nanny single dad, the forbidden love, the fish out of water, the single parent.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, I don't know, what forced proximity because they're on a boat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of
does the dead ex-spouse count as a trope?
I mean, we're discovering it to be a
pretty common.
Pretty common. Yeah, this is book number 5 with dead spouse or mom. You know, there's a lot of overlap.
A lot of grief.
The comedians have a lot of jokes that are on the same topic, but might be a little bit different. I'm like, we're seeing that here too. I mean, but it happens in spy books as well. Like, you know, every year or two, there will be 2 books by major, you know, New York Times selling authors that are both about where the bad guys are Chinese or the bad guys are, you know, or it's a nuclear situation, or, you know, there's it's a vaccine virus, you know, kind of thing. There's always like cross-pollination between these books where it's like whatever's kind of going on in the world, these guys write books about it, and there tends to be a fair amount of not story overlap per se, but at least bad guy situational stuff is very close. So I mean, I don't. There's no fault. There's no fault in that. You know.
Yeah.
Of having a similar story, but they, you know, it did get a little. Just, you know, like, come on, guys, you're on the same boat. You got rid of the daughter. Now they're finally like gonna do it.
And having a conjugal visit.
And we're over halfway through the book. I mean, we're 57%. They have their first kiss. They already dry humped to completion. She did, at least. But then the first kiss after sending the daughter away, and then she quits. She quits again. And then it's like, then they have their first kiss. And then again, body flooding, you know, with heat. And lots of devouring. She's ravenous, and like even during the food scenes, I'm like, okay, but now during the sex scenes, I'm like, you can't use the same language. It really confuses me.
He wanted to put his crusty baguette in her soft cheese. I think it works very well.
Oh my god, that was comedy gold, Helen. Good job.
I'm just saying, the food stuff works great in the bedroom.
Oh man, and then she's like, I'm gonna shower up for him or whatever, and they go through like a little storm, and she starts getting sick. So she like the crew all leaves the boat. Only the captain's there driving around, so they can fuck everywhere. And he's like, they're like, oh, should we go out to dinner tonight? Should we go have this nice meal, you know, whatever else? And she's like, I'll be your dinner. And I'm like, yucko. And then 60% through post-puke porno, you know, it's everything is delectable or milky or mouth-watering during this first sex scene. I know. She wrote it. And then I was like, she doesn't even talk about food like that. It was, and then the condo, they had the brief condo talk, and she's like, just come at me. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Very brief.
Yeah, and during the sex scene, other than when she specifically says he slips into French, I could barely tell who was talking one way or the other. Like, most of the rest of the book, there was pretty good delineation of character voice. But I felt like, especially during that first sex scene, I couldn't really tell who was saying what to whom.
Maybe that's the point. They were like fucking as one.
Yeah, but I think it was listening to it more so than reading it on the page. Maybe. I think I got a little lost in there. But, you know, and then she gets teary, the soul sex, as she calls it. She gets a little teary afterwards, and I'm like, all right. So then he sets down the parameters. He goes, we can do this for 2 days, and then we'll bang it out, and then we're done. and she like agrees to it, and then she's immediately questioning it. Like right after she agrees to it, she's like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can whatever. And it's like, you literally just said yes to this, thing. Why don't you actively? Why didn't you have the conversation and say, I don't think I can do this?
Yeah.
It was, yeah. So they're finally in Corsica. We find out how the wife dies. The possible OD. They're having this massive meal up in this private room where she's, they're eating everything. I'm like, how are they not shitting their pants and or farting all over the place with all this food and cheese and everything they're eating? Helen, if anyone gave you that much cheese, you'd either not shit until you exploded, or you'd literally stink out the entire boat.
I'm the first. That's my issue. You're the second issue. We have opposite bowel issues. And yes. But also, I don't think the whole world has our gut flora and fauna. I think you and I are unique in our issues. So I do think people can go to a foreign country and eat a bunch of food and not immediately need to find a bathroom or chug Miralax. I don't know. I think that we're unique in that way.
Oh,
we're special.
This fateful note here that I'm reading. Lots of budding stuff in mouths. It's supposed to be say putting stuff in mouths, but it's funnier to say budding stuff in mouths.
Budding,
and I was like,
spurting.
It's like, you're eating, you sickos. Like it was weird. Lots of spurting, lots of moaning and groaning. That was the one thing where usually the moaning and groaning is during sex scenes, or in the case of Butcher and Blackbird, murder,
people dying.
But it's nice. It was a little much in these eating scenes. To be like, I'm like, yeah, okay, a little much. All this being said, it's her descriptions of these foods were phenomenal. I just wish that there were like 2 scenes of that, and not every other scene was some scenery porn or food porn or whatever. And then 67% through she gets weird. Right after this, during this meal, he tells her, "Oh yeah, I had you investigated already. Like I know all about your past." She has a shady stepdad who, Bernie Madoff-esque type stepdad.
Yeah,
and she gets pissy that he like investigated
knows
her.
That.
And I'm like, he's a prince, and you're supposed to be watching his child. What do you expect him to do?
Yeah, of
course he did a background check. Of course he knows everything about you. Like, what are you thinking? How can you possibly even be mad at him about that? And their banter back and forth at dinner was a little stilted, and I was like, okay. But
people
then we get
online. Sorry, but people online get really upset because his French is not accurate. So they say, people in the like Goodreads comments and stuff just talk about how like they're native French speakers, and they're just all of the grammar and the like some of the phrases that he uses are absolutely incorrect, and it drives them nuts. And so I took French growing up, but they're like, I'd understand if like most of what they were saying, but it was all very basic because she doesn't technically speak French. She has like.
Did you take French in high school too?
Yes.
Because I took it in grade school, and I can't remember a goddamn thing. Je m'appelle Ned.
Oh, bonjour. Ça va?
Comment allez-vous?
Donde la biblioteca? That's Spanish. I don't know. No,
Yo soy guapo. You are pretty. Bolsa. That means purse.
Why do you say pencil sharpener?
Sacapuntas.
Sacapuntas. That was your favorite word in high school. Sacapuntas.
Oh, yeah. Sacapuntas.
So people did get, like, the internet does not love the language back and forth.
Yeah.
And the way that he, like, because he slips back and forth between French. Obviously, often. French is his native language. And so but, like, when he doesn't want her to understand something, when he's, like, eating her out, he'll be like... He'll just go into French knowing she won't understand it. Oh, Ned, this is a children's podcast. I can't have you.
You keep saying that. YouTube's finally going to flag us at some point if you keep saying that.
This podcast is for children. Delphine.
It's like Mr. Rogers, us, and then
Miss Rachel.
What's the girl with the backpack?
Dora the Explorer.
Dora the Explorer. The Explorer. All right. So after this meal, I call it at 69% up top.
There you go.
It's the Upper Deck Tickle Fest, where they're like on the top deck, and she's like, he's getting all handsy and whatever else, and it was like I forget if the captain finally said something, or if he was up top, or I don't even remember. But during this whole time, she's like, she doesn't know anything about him really. He keeps telling her, I'm pretty famous and whatever else. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, he's fucking famous. Look him up. Like, you can literally look up this all up on the internet, and yet you sit there willfully blind. I mean, literally my note is, at this point, you're being willfully ignorant about who he is. You can go find this out. And he researched you. Why can't you research him? I don't know why you're drawing this line in the sand.
I feel like that's a thing. Like, people who date royals, like Meghan Markle knew nothing about Prince Harry before she like fell in love with him. Like, she heard of him, but she knew nothing. And I feel like it's that celebrity regular person trope of like they want to fall in love with somebody who loves them for them and not their like character, not the like famous version of themselves.
Not the time he wore a Nazi insignia on his arm at a Halloween party. Okay,
that's very specific to Prince Harry, but yes. So I just feel like this is a little bit of that trope where she wants to fall in love with him for him and not Google him and like be influenced by all of this stuff online. That's how I understood.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. Yeah.
Love me for me.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And then comes what I was talking about before. The view from the nunnery is that one was so described so well. I legitimately wrote it in the notes. I was like, the audience can see what the characters are seeing. She wrote that so well. That was pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with all of the great descriptions in this book, that one really knocked it out of the park. And then we find out that he's helping African kids like in their school and schooling, making sure they have access to like
refugees. Yeah.
I don't think it's just refugees. I think he was talking about actual kids in Africa, like they were doing service work over there in Africa.
Oh, okay. I knew he paid for the education for refugees that came to France.
Yeah, I didn't think it was just refugees. I thought he was literally doing work over there too. Yeah,
he has a heart of gold.
But
that's
it's
Xavier
like,
Pascal.
She cries about his giving charity to these African kids or refugees, and he takes it as she's sad about something else, and it's complete miscommunications. And I'm like, this is the one situation where I'm like, talk to each other, you fucking idiots. It could have been a lot of some of the miscommunication in this section could have been easily solved by them just having a chat. But then they don't. And
it's a romance novel. Of course they don't.
Yeah, well, be better. 73% beach bingo, blowjob, boner fest.
Ooh.
They go to have a picnic on the beach, and she's just like, I'm gonna eat that hot dog, and it just gobbles them all down.
Mm-hmm.
I want every piece of you, so I'll swallow you on a beach.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Very graphic. Thank you.
Seems about right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how you do the beach. Hilton Head.
I know. The only beach we go to.
Hilton Head.
It's like the most family-oriented beach you've ever been to.
And there's head in the title of it.
Oh, my God. You ruined it forever.
And then 74% in is when Dauphine finally gets kidnapped. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay.
Finally.
And, yeah. I'm like, oh, something's happening. And then pretty needless self-blame by Josie. It's like, what? She's like, oh my God, what could we have done? And he blames her a little bit, a lot, initially. And they have it out on the helicopter after he finds a business card like we were talking about earlier. And it was like, okay, so the low point, she goes, listen, you should know at this point, having known me for, 6 weeks or so, that I wouldn't have done this. And even with even with the evidence that is circumstantial against me. And so she quits again for the third, or actually she quit before they went and had their bang fest.
And at some point, he had emailed the agency. He had emailed her old roommate and said, like, hey, I want a new person.
But that was like week 2.
Yeah, and that was super early on because he couldn't deal with having such a hot nanny. Literally, that was like why he was like, I need a different one. And anyway, so that happened, and she finds out about it right in this part of the story. So she's like, he doesn't want me here anyway, and now he's blaming me for this kidnapping, and there's all of these elements of like, you guys are toxic. Yeah.
One of my favorite lines from this section was, come hell or hot Frenchman, I'm leaving at the end of the week. I was like, okay. And then there's a crappy apology in here, and like a real crappy apology. But they also admit to loving each other, and it's like weird, but then he doesn't know how to love. So he's like, I don't know. I'm broken. So then 83% in, garden fuck party. And she's like leaving the next day, and he's like, but let me lead you down into the backyard and bone you one more time.
Well, the setup is that the daughter gets kidnapped, they find her, and they're at the grandma's house or whatever. So the daughter's back, and Josie's planning to leave. Like, she had all of her stuff packed to leave after their fuck fest, but then the kidnapping happened. So then they go to the grandma's house. Dauphine, the daughter, begs Josie to stay for a few more days, at least, to stay the whole time, to stay forever. But she's like, I'll stay for a few more days to make sure you get settled back in after this kidnapping and this terrible experience. So she does stay for a few more days, and then finally her flight comes up, and she's like, I'm out, I'm going home, I'm getting a job, yada yada. And she did find herself a little bit. There was something that Xavier said to her at one point where he was saying how what she loved most about architecture was the history of these buildings. So she should look for jobs. Like, she wasn't getting answers on jobs. She was applying. She wasn't getting interviews. And so she finally started looking at like historical societies and more focusing on the history of the architecture versus like being an architect. And so that was like her big self-discovery, eat, pray, love me and architecture.
What did you think about their phone calls at the end? Where they were falling asleep every night on the phone with each other.
Speaking of, you tell me I jump around. So they fuck against the wall in the garden. She leaves, flies home, gets a job.
We're there. We're literally there.
You didn't even, but you forgot to mention that she flies home. Their phone calls don't start until she's back in Charleston.
You just said that she flew home.
Yeah. I had to say it. You were just asking about their phone calls willy-nilly. Their phone calls did not start.
Done. What do you think about their phone calls?
They're weird. That's all. They're just weird. They fall asleep on the phone together. That's got to be an expensive fucking phone call. I don't know. Yeah. They just listen to each other breathe at night. And I'm sure he's like jerking it over in his little porthole in the boat, like listening to her sleep. That's disgusting.
Well, and she finally sees him, so he finally comes to Charleston to track her down.
Yeah.
And she's out running. She's this hot, sweaty mess. And
God forbid.
And she turns around, sees him, and he goes, "What's he doing here? He should be at home, crying into his leek soup." I'm like, that's very specific. But I did love that line. Yeah. He should be at home, crying into his leek soup. And then she's waffling. And then he goes, "Hey, come to the hotel. Dauphine's here, wants to see you." She's waffling about this decision. Finally, even her girlfriends, even the one that she fucked over by screwing her boss, was like, "Go see the dude. Like, you need to figure this out." And then I did say this book had everything, but the gray sweatpants. It is smelling, the forearm ogling, the semi-messy, hair. the big dong, like it hit all those romance,
circus
all those
tent pole,
all those romance check marks. All right, so 96% in last sex scene of the book.
Okay.
This is what I think one of my best. One of my best. Charleston chewing on that clit.
Oh no.
I was like, he's gnawing on that puss, and the kid is right downstairs. Like they're in
an open loft.
That was loft, so for God's sake. Oh
Charleston
man.
Chew. Oh.
I told you it was good. I texted you a couple days ago, and I was like, I got it. I found the best one of this book. And you're like, I'm like, don't go into my notes and read it.
I never do anyway.
and then it's like literally the next morning he's like, oh, by the way, here proposal.
Here's
let's
a
get
ring.
married.
Yeah. Dauphine gives her a letter saying, will you be my stepmama? But
I did love that he reached out to her mom, reached out to the two friends, and like, I was like, okay, little smoothness at the end.
Yeah.
It doesn't make up for all the dickery before, but it was. I thought the ending was okay.
So like. Yeah, the ending I think was one of the better parts. Like the description of the boat, like getting on the boat was my favorite probably, and then the end was cute. What I would like. Did you like this book?
I was
overall.
I was middle of the road on it.
Okay.
I was like it could have been a travel book if you took the kidnapping and the sex out of it.
Yeah.
It could have just been her gallivanting with a prince around
finding
Europe. Finding herself, whatever. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it. It wouldn't be, when you were telling me, oh man, it made me want to go travel and whatever else. I got that. I got those notes. But the writing was good. It was well written, but I didn't love it. I thought it was okay.
I'm so sad that I read it again. I'm so like it. The memory that I have of reading this book the first time, I read it on the page, and so I probably took a lot longer to read it and just savored it, and it wasn't like I was rushing through it to talk about it over here, or like just like, well, what are the sex scenes? I wasn't analyzing it the first time I read it, and I just have this like such a wonderful memory of reading this book and loving it, like 5 stars, amazing, and. So now that I've reread it, I'm like sad because I'm like, wow, that does not live up. When sometimes you read a book and it just hits, like it's exactly what you need at that moment, and it's awesome. And that's what it was, I think, when I read it the first time in like 21 or 22, and so 2021, and so like now I've reread it. It just doesn't hit the same way. Maybe I have a kid, so I'm just more like, what the hell are you doing? You're like feet from her. Can you not? Like, that's creepy.
Well, Mr. Masters, the other Tudor book, had the same thing with the foot jacking sesh on the couch.
That was so
and whatever.
weird. I'm like, I'm calling DCFS. Like, so uncomfortable. This was less, I don't know. I do feel like they got rid of her. They got rid of the daughter before they really fucked. So that for me was better. But I don't know. I just
you also ranked this as a medium plus, and I before the call I was like, should have been medium minus. Even
that's not a rating.
We can't call it tame because there's multiple open door sex scenes in it, but. It was definitely not as spicy as I thought I was expecting it to be.
I think I really built it up. That's what I'm frustrated. I'm mad at myself about it because I built it up in my head. I built it up to you, and now I've reread it, and I'm just like, oh, okay, it's good.
It's okay.
It's enjoyable, but there was definitely parts of it were reading it back this time. And I think, too, again, I read this very early on in my romance journey. And so I'm sure I thought it was medium plus at the time. Like, holy shit, she just sat on his dick on a boat. Like, I'm sure things were much more like fresh and new to me.
Not everybody started off with fish fuckers.
No.
But
I think having
Tessa Bailey, shout out.
Tessa Bailey gets down and dirty quick. But so I just think it felt medium plus to me at the time. And now having read so much more, I'm like, okay, yeah, for sure, medium minus. But again, if you love Southern France and you love Below Deck, you're going to love this. Gonna love this boat.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah. But I would preface that with, like, if somebody's talking about, like, how much they love crusty baguettes and soft cheese, I'd be like, I've got a book for you.
And clams that look like pussies.
Clams that look like pussies. That's, like, the only... He, like, laughed out loud, literally, at that. And that was,
yuck.
Everybody was like, he's in love with her because he laughed at her joke.
Well, and that scene specifically, Delphine thought that they were laughing at her because the mean girls at school, and I was like, there was some emotional stuff, some like who's cutting onion scenes with Delphine.
Is the one that she moved it all along. Otherwise, they would have just been assholes to each other and then left, like gone in different directions. So the kid kept them together.
Yeah.
I'd recommend it to the right person. Would you? Probably not.
I mean, for your travel nut, for the person that likes to travel stuff, yes. Yeah. But I think there's better. There's definitely better smut, romance out there. Yeah. But the travel stuff and the food descriptions and stuff were on point. If you like a story that doesn't move a whole lot that has that in it, then by all means.
If you're going to Saint-Tropez for like a summer vacation
or Cannes or whatever else, yeah,
by all means, take this book with you and read it. It'll hit. It'll transport you to the place you're already going. But it'll feel cool because you'll be reading about what you're actually doing. Think that's who I would recommend it to. Is all my friends
that Pittsburgh
travel.
Sorry,
the Pittsburgh travel hockey book or the Pittsburgh hockey book. No, I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I just finished Baden, the first one in the series.
It's called Baden?
Baden, B-A-D-E-N.
Like Baden. Master Baden?
Baden. Fishing on the Monongahela. Fishing on the old Monongahela.
The mighty Mon.
All right, enough tangents. Do you know what we're reading next week?
Okay, I think I do. What? But I might be wrong. Is it Billionaire Wake Up Call?
The Billionaire's Wake Up Call Girl. Yeah.
Billionaire's Wake Up Call Girl. Who's it by?
Annika Martin.
Yeah,
so this is part of a,
things.
Yeah, this is part of a series.
I'm not just the talent. Okay.
I don't think this is book one, but it's in a series of books, which is fun. I think I suggested this one to you, and we both ended up reading it. Did you read the second one in this Broken French series?
Oh yeah, Stolen English, sure did. That's the story of Evan, the first mate / bodyguard,
and Andrea.
And Andrea, who's like the, I'm losing my below deck lingo, like the first steward. She like runs the boat.
Yeah, I was gonna say crew manager, but same concept.
First stew.
Well, all right. I mean, I think we've said everything that needs to be said about this.
I know.
If you're what?
Hang on. Okay, I'm gonna make us go back. I am curious because you have been to the south of France, right? Where did you go with Craig? You went to Cannes.
We went to Cannes, and then we took the train up to Geneva from there.
Oh, okay.
So so he spent 2 nights in Cannes. I spent one because of the plane,
debacle.
Fuck up. Yeah, and then so I spent a night, and I took the train. We took the train along the coast, the southern coast of
France.
France, and we went through all the Monte Carlo and all those cities going across, and then went and stayed a night in Cannes, and then took a train up to Geneva for 2 days, and then down to Rome from there.
So did this book make you think of like your travels? And did you recognize any of the places that they went?
No, I didn't recognize the places that they went, but I mean the feel of it is certainly like on point. I mean, but like you said, they're mostly on the boat. So they have like 3 brief instances where they get off the boat and go into the city. And it's like, that is reminiscent of places that I, had been and or seen. But it was not, most of it is like mega yacht. And I'm like, no, I haven't, I've never been on a boat that big before.
Not yet.
In Vietnam, when we were chasing people around on the pageants, the pageant girls on boats, we were on some pretty big boats during that time, but nothing this big. Nothing mega yacht big.
Nothing Beyonce big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I did think of that when you were talking. Go ahead. Carry on.
Yeah. Can I proceed with the outro now, Helen? Or do you have anything else you want to say?
Well, I'm just trying to bring up more banter that might be of interest to our fans.
Oh, yeah. Fans. You lucky ducks getting to listen to us jabber on. Speaking of fans, if you're liking our bullshit, please read, rate, subscribe, hit that like button. Generally just go to all the sites and like us on everything. Please and thank you. As we already said and lost the thread again, the next week's book is The Billionaire's Wake Up Call Girl by Annika Martin. So read up, and
it's a short one.
It's relatively short, so you should be able to fit it in pretty quick. And thanks for listening, and tune in next week, Smutters.
Thank you, Smutters.
Smutters.
Bye, Mom and Dad.
Shout out.
We know you're watching. Don't tell your friends.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty.
Stay smutty. And cut.
Okay, bye.